The Stray Dog's Verdict. Chapter 1: A Regular Day in Court. The grand courtroom of Riverside County was filled with a sense of anticipation. It was an important day, the final day of a long and arduous legal battle that had gripped the city for months. The case of State versus Harrison had become a sensation, attracting the attention of legal scholars, journalists, and even the general public. The defendant, Gregory Harrison, a well-known businessman, was accused of orchestrating a fraudulent scheme that had cost investors millions. His defense team argued that he had been framed, while the prosecution presented what seemed like irrefutable evidence against him. Judge Eleanor Whitmore, a woman known for her sharp intellect and unwavering sense of justice, was about to deliver her verdict. The courtroom was packed, lawyers, journalists, and spectators all waited in silence. Harrison sat at the defendant's table, his hands clasped tightly together, his face unreadable. Just as Judge Whitmore lifted her gavel to make her ruling, something unexpected happened. A stray dog trotted into the courtroom. Chapter 2: The Dog's Interruptions. The golden-furred dog was medium-sized, with alert eyes and a calm demeanor. It wasn't clear how it had entered the building, but it now stood in the center of the courtroom, its head slightly tilted as if observing the proceedings. Murmurs spread through the crowd, and a court officer moved forward to escort the dog out. But before anyone could react further, the dog did something that changed everything. It barked. Once, twice, 3 times. The sharp barks echoed through the chamber, breaking the solemn atmosphere. Judge Whitmore hesitated, lowering her gavel slightly. A strange hush fell over the courtroom as people exchanged puzzled glances. "Who let a dog in here?" one of the court officers muttered, stepping forward. Some chuckled nervously, assuming the dog was simply seeking attention. But others, including a few seasoned lawyers, felt an odd sense of unease. The timing of the barks, just as the verdict was about to be announced, seemed almost deliberate. Judge Whitmore raised a hand, signaling for silence. She looked at the dog for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then, just as she was about to speak again, something even stranger happened. Chapter 3: The Shocking Turn of Events. A young lawyer, Allison Carter, who had been sitting at the prosecution's table, suddenly gasped. Her eyes widened and she shot up from her chair. "Your Honor," she said, her voice slightly trembling, I think I need a moment." Judge Whitmore arched an eyebrow. "On what grounds, Ms. Carter?" Allison hesitated before turning to her assistant, who was flipping through a stack of documents. "The dog," she began, shaking her head as if trying to organize her thoughts. "The dog's barking, it reminded me of something." The entire courtroom was now focused on her. I just realized we might have overlooked a critical piece of evidence." The defense lawyer, Richard Calloway, leaned forward, intrigued. "What are you talking about?" Allison took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I need to request a short recess. There is a security recording we may have neglected to review in detail." The judge studied her carefully before nodding. "Very well. Court is in recess for 15 minutes. Chapter 4: The Missing Evidence. The courtroom remained abuzz as Allison and her team rushed to retrieve the footage. Within minutes, they had found it, an old surveillance recording from a parking garage near the scene of the crime. It had been dismissed earlier as irrelevant. As the video played, everyone in the room fell silent. The footage showed an unidentified man entering a black car. Moments later, a distinctive sound echoed in the background. A dog barking 3 times. Allison froze. That's the exact same pattern. 3 barks. It was in the background of the original footage. She rewound the video, this time slowing it down. The man in the footage, his face partially obscured, had a briefcase in his hand. A briefcase identical to one that had gone missing, and was believed to contain crucial documents. "This changes everything," Calloway murmured. Judge Whitmore leaned forward. "Ms. Carter, are you suggesting this footage is connected to today's events?" Allison hesitated. "I don't know what to think, Your Honor. But I do know one thing: we need to take a closer look at this evidence. Chapter 5: The Courtroom's Reaction. The courtroom was filled with whispers. Some thought the barking dog was nothing more than a strange coincidence. Others weren't so sure. Judge Whitmore sighed. This case was meant to conclude today. But given these revelations, I cannot in good conscience proceed without further review. She turned to the defense and prosecution. I am ordering a temporary delay in the verdict. This case will be re-examined. Gasps filled the room. Gregory Harrison, who had been preparing for the worst, suddenly looked hopeful. Outside the courtroom, the stray dog sat quietly, its job seemingly done. Chapter 6: The Mystery Deepens. In the following days, investigators reanalyzed the footage, leading to an astonishing discovery. The man in the video was identified as a key witness who had previously testified against Harrison. When confronted with the footage, he broke down and confessed he had been coerced into giving false testimony. With this revelation, the case took a dramatic turn. New evidence surfaced, proving that Harrison had been set up by a business rival. 1 week later, the court reconvened. Judge Whitmore, with a composed yet serious expression, announced her decision. Given the new evidence and the recantation of key testimony, I have no choice but to dismiss the charges against Mr. Harrison. A stunned silence filled the courtroom before it erupted into murmurs. Chapter 7: The Dog's Departure. After the trial, many sought to adopt the mysterious stray dog. But when reporters and legal professionals went looking for it, the dog was nowhere to be found. Some swore they had seen it walking down the courthouse steps, disappearing into the streets. Others believed it had never truly been an ordinary dog at all. Judge Whitmore, known for a rational approach to the law, later admitted to a close friend, "I don't believe in omens, but I cannot explain what happened that day." The case of State versus Harrison became a legend in legal circles. Some dismissed the dog's involvement as mere chance, but others, including Allison Carter, believed otherwise. Maybe, she mused one evening, justice has its own way of revealing the truth. Sometimes it just needs a little help, even from an unexpected source. And so, the legend of the courtroom dog lived on. A final question lingered in the minds of all who heard the story. Was it luck, intuition, or something more?